I'm glad you could join us in this edition of People and Places here on GhanaWeb TV. Today, we sit with a prolific playwright and lecturer who has produced some of the greatest actors and actresses you see on your screens and in the theaters. We'll have a conversation about his life and journey into lecturing and playwriting. So stay with us as we take this quick break. We'll return and I'll introduce my guest. I am Wanda Amihegan. We'll be right back. Our guest today is a legend. I like to describe him as that. He is Professor Martin Ochiri Owusu. He's an associate professor of theatre arts at the School of Performing Arts, Department of Theatre Arts at the University of Ghana, Legon. He's also a prolific playwright and director, and he has wide international experience in teaching literature and drama. Good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Well, by God's grace, I'm doing well.
It's a pleasure and an honor to, have a conversation with you today. Thank you for having us. Okay, so my very first question is a little funny, but is it a common phrase for you?
Yes, it's something that I use to relax my students.
Your students, a lot of them have said it's your favorite comment.
Yeah, so for example, if a student doesn't quite behave the way I use it, you have no problems. You don't seem to have any worries. So that is it's a funny implication of to relax them, make them feel good in class.
Okay. Your students like to give you fans. Even say, oh, you're a guy.
I didn't understand that. Every person is a guy, especially if you're a male. So, but in Ghana, when they say you are a guy, it means that
fans,
just some. I really appreciate that, but I don't understand.
Okay. So we know you are a renowned playwright, a professor. You've taught a lot of people, but tell us, what else don't we know? Who is Professor Owusu?
Oh, a village boy, born 1943 in a town called Agunakwaman, near Sud Central Region. My father was a catechist, Presbyterian Church. So I and my siblings, we grew up in the mission house. And by God's grace, I passed the common entrance in the Methodist Middle School, Agunakwaman, in 1956. And I entered Infant Film School. So from there, I proceeded to train as a teacher at the Presbyterian Training College, which is now the Presby College of Education in Kropong. And from there I came to Legon. I studied the A-level at the same time that I was studying to become a teacher. So I combined the two and entered the University of Ghana and pursued the drama and theatre program. I was one of the first batch of 12 students who started the program in 1963. And there were 8 boys, including me, and 4 girls. And so we were the very first batch of students to begin the theatre program at the University of Ghana. And from there, I went to teach literature in Cape Coast, St. Augustine's full-time, and other schools, in Cape Coast. And then I was lucky to be selected for a British Council scholarship, and I went to the UK, Bristol University, to study for my master's in literature, MLit. And after 2 years, I came back to Ghana and I went to lecture at Cape Coast, University of Cape Coast. After 3 years, I got another fellowship by God's grace again, this time I went to the U.S., Boston, Massachusetts, at Brandeis University, and I studied for my PhD in English and American literature. And from there I came back to Ghana after spending 10 years there, teaching in various universities. I came back and joined the University of Ghana's School of Performing Arts, and I've been here since then. 1987 I joined the School of Performing Arts, and I've been lecturing in drama, various aspects of drama, play analysis, interpretation, my favorite, and then playwriting, directing, and including now we have the postgraduate edition where we have the PhD. So all in all, I've climbed the ladder by God's grace, really, because I come from a modest family. When I say modest, my father was a catechist and a school teacher, headmaster in the basic schools. And my mother was a baker and a seamstress. So it isn't like I was born into some wealthy situation, which have been okay if that was so. But even so, going to school, they, for example, had to pawn the cocoa farm. And then later on, when I completed my master's, I went back to pay back for it, to retrieve the farm. So it wasn't an easy going through. But then, somewhere along the line, I got assistance, for example, British Council coming and offering me a scholarship. And then Brandeis University offered me a full tuition-free scholarship to go for my PhD program. And all of these, I can't say it is because I was simply brilliant, but also by the benevolence of other people.
We know Prof. Can you tell us a little about your family?
Family? Oh, I have 2 children, grown up.
Okay.
My daughter, whose picture is here, is a HR director in the US. My son is a professor at Boston University, also in the media and film. And I had 3, 1 passed, the last born passed, but it's God who took him my way.
Okay.
And I have a wife and 2 other children adopted at home.
Okay.
Very, very happy.
Beautiful
my brother
family.
is Mr. Benasanti, who is a lecturer here. And my other siblings, I could say half brothers and sisters, they are also all around, and we do meet once in a while and so on. So we have a large, you could say, external family, as well as the nuclear family.
Can you tell us, I mean, in your JHS or your junior high school, your lower, your basic education, did you have any subjects that you hated?
Hated?
Yes.
Chemistry.
Okay.
I didn't like the scent of gas. In fact, in fancy school, when it was Wednesday, and it was the lesson for chemistry, and the chemistry mistress would release some nitrogen gas, so and it would fill the classroom, and I couldn't take it, you know, and so I, even though it was a subject that I could have done very well in, because of this prejudice against it, but I wouldn't call it hatred.
Okay.
It just didn't sit well with my soul.
Right. Talking about that, what was your favorite subject back then?
Literature.
No doubt.
Literature from the beginning.
So it was an interest from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
Okay.
And let me bring you to see that right from Form 1, there was star production.
Okay.
Okay. Annual star production. by the staff, including Shakespeare plays.
Okay.
And in Cape Coast at that time, the St. Augustine's, for example, they used to do pantomimes. Aladdin and Aladdin's the genie, the Arabian Nights.
Yeah.
And at the Saddle, they used to do classical Greek plays.
Okay.
Including Antigone, Oedipus, and so on. So it was a very vibrant place, you know, where the ambience was right for theatre to be groomed and so on. And I felt myself in the midst of all these. And I remember the British Council would come and show us films of Shakespeare's plays. I remember they showed us Henry V, and then King Richard III. And I remember there were ghosts in Richard III, and I couldn't sleep that night. I got so scared, you know. But then that attracted me more to study more of Shakespeare and other playwrights. I also remember that in 1957, yes, there was this new play, This Is Our Chance, by a Nigerian playwright, James N. Henshaw, which was very popular around West Africa. And I played a role in it as one of the dancers and a small boy. I was a very tiny student then. So that's how, in my formative years, I got interested in this whole idea of drama theatre.
And earlier you mentioned that you schooled in the US. You did your PhD in Boston.
Yes.
Okay. And after that, you had the opportunity to teach in a number of schools.
Yes.
So, teaching was your very first job?
My very first job was teaching at St. Augustine's, Cape Coast.
Okay.
After my undergrad here in Legon.
Okay.
And I was teaching literature. Not language.
Okay.
Literature. Even though language was part of literature, so inevitably one had to deal with the semantics of English. But then whilst there, I taught literature in various other schools, including my own school. I taught for 3 years or 2 years there after St. Augustine's. I taught at Holy Child School, Sixth Form, Whistle Girls High School, Sixth Form, Agri Memorial. I taught there too, Sixth Form. So and other places, you know. But in the U.S., I lectured in the University of Massachusetts, and then Emerson College and Brandeis University, my alma mater, before I came back.
So you've done a lot of teaching in your life.
Yeah.
In all, how many years would you say, how long would you say you've been teaching for?
From 1966 to date. So we're talking about how many years now? Add 44 to 20.
That's 84.
Okay.
84 years of teaching.
That is 64.
64.
64.
Okay.
I'm not even 80. I'm 77.
Okay. Wow, and you've been teaching for 64 years of your 77 years. Wow.
Wow. What else
I'm
could I do?
very impressed.
Thank you.
Okay. And that's for teaching.
Yes.
Let's talk a little about playwriting.
Yeah.
When did you get into playwriting?
When I was schooling at Legon, I began to write plays. So I always tell the students that don't complete your undergrad or postgrad before you write the first play. Start writing it as you learn and go along.
Okay.
So I remember I wrote my very first play as a student. That was the Adventures of Sasa and Nisi.
Okay.
2 plays for children.
Okay.
All right. And I remember it was published by Ghana Publishing Corporation and was performed for Ghana Television. And then after that, I wrote The Story Anansi Told when I was teaching at St. Augustine's for the Star Production. And that followed up with other plays, The Mightier Sword, The Sudden Return, another play. One of my favorites is The Legend of Akusika, about Ghanaian's attitude to deformity. It's terrible.
Okay.
So
we'll get into your plays pretty soon, but your first day as a lecturer, can you recount that? That's
a difficult one because you're talking about sentiments, memory. But I had no difficulty having trained as a teacher. You see, you overcome the stage fright. So I didn't have any difficulties at all. I plunged straight into teaching literature at University of Cape Coast, and I enjoyed it, and I'm very comfortable with it in the English department.
And your plays?
Yes.
Of all the plays you've written over the years, many of them.
Yes.
What would you say are your top 3, if you are supposed to choose out of the many, the 3 that stand out the most for you? What would they be?
It's like asking a parent who has 10 children
to choose
3 favorites, and I will reluctantly answer your question, but I also say that it's not fair to subdue other works coming from the same mind and say these are the 3 outstanding. Each play has its own chemistry. So however difficult it is, I will suggest that The Sudden Return is one.
Okay.
The Story Nancy too is another. And The Legend of Akusika, if you want 3 out of the many.
Okay.
But the others, like The Mightier Soul, a historical play, is a very major work.
Okay.
And others that one would equally pay attention to. I'll tell you what. The department did a play recently. The ASPA produced it. It was directed by Bernard Ajako, Joseph, and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. It has to do with the sons of Jacob. And Jacob had a favorite.
You're talking Jacob in the Bible,
yes,
right?
In the Bible.
Okay.
He had a favorite, Joseph.
Yes.
And he gave him this dream code, Technicolor code. And that didn't sit well with the other brothers. And they plotted his downfall.
Yeah.
They sold him into slavery. You see, and so when you have children, in this case, personification of plays that I have written, I hesitate to see these 3 are my favorite. What about the others? They may be crying without my knowledge. You understand?
Yeah.
If they were human beings.
Prof, how many plays do you have to your credit?
Many. Can
you give us a figure to it?
No. But there were those that I didn't even
record
or publish. Those plays for Ghana television.
Okay.
And we've done plays for road safety. We've done plays for AIDS.
Yeah.
I was commissioned to write plays for the Commission on Culture, and so all these have not been counted as.
Okay.
So when I say many, I mean many.
Many. Right. Have you acted before, Prof?
Acted?
Yes.
If you come to the School of Performing Arts and you train as a theatre major, you are by default to be on stage. You begin with that. So whether you're a playwright or a director or whatever, you've got to be on stage.
Okay.
And so we began from there. And I've been acting, including Kowansan's Heritage Africa. I played a major role in that.
Right.
Okay. I played a doctor, yes, matron. And I've been acting on stage. I played the lawyer in The Witness for the Prosecution. I played the defense lawyer, several for robots, and many other things. I've even played my own plays, like the Sorancy too. I played announcer.
Okay.
And I also played the narrator. And so, as for acting,
you've been there.
It is there. It's basic. You got to do it.
Right.
So that is.
When was the last time you acted in anything? Theater, movie, anything? The
last time I acted in a play, that was last year.
Okay.
Last year.
That's very recent.
Yes, that was Witness for the Prosecution.
Okay.
I played the role of Sir Wilfred Roberts, Defense Counsel.
Wow. Great. Let's just talk about this before we take a quick break. You starred in a commercial some time back. How was that experience like? And did it get you a lot of fortunes? Because I mean, commercials bring money.
Unfortunately, at that time, that was 1989 or 90. I starred in the advert for SIC, insurance company. But I didn't represent insurance company, SIC. I represent an imaginary company called World Insurance Company.
Okay.
And it was fun. It was the longest advert, 1 minute 32 seconds by Kowansa. And I got a lot of fans, all right, especially with the expression as I was saying, and count me in and so forth. But I think in terms of money at that time, well, if it were today, it would have been quite substantial. So, but I wouldn't call it a fortune.
Okay. Okay. Prof,
yes.
We have a surprise for you after this break. But let's hold it there. Take a short break. Please stay with us and we'll return to continue the conversation.
We table issues relating to the arts and entertainment for a riveting discussion, of course, without fear nor favor.
The question the presenter asked them was a dumb question. You need to speak the fact and move.
Varied views. We agree to disagree.
So I would disagree with everything you said. I think that he's a smart guy. I think what he did.
No, but I also said he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm waiting for the what next. Yeah,
I don't think that we have to wait for what next.
It sometimes gets confrontational, but that's the beauty of the game.
Today you're denying funny face.
It's not my brother.
Today you're denying funny face.
I don't know him.
You don't know funny face.
It's not my brother.
You don't know funny face.
It's a package. We meet, we sit, we dialogue, we learn, we progress. My name is Benefo Wabin Abrantepa, a proud blogger, and this is my forum.
When I entered the School of Performing Arts, I had already appeared on TV. I had already featured in Taxi Driver. I had already appeared in Jeje Kule. I wasn't new to the screens. I had had some experience, and well, I thought I was a star. But Professor Martin also had a way of making you unlearn what you already think you know, and then you relearn what is better and what would make you a complete person. By the time I was entering the University of Ghana in the year 2000, School of Performing Arts, I could say I was just an actor. But by the time I stepped out, thanks to people like Professor Martin Owusu, I was a complete theater. Everything that we had gone through had made me ready for the market, in the sense that I was no longer just an actor, but I could also script, I could produce, I could direct. The practice of theater, if you open yourself, open your mind, and avail yourself to the teachings of people like legends like Professor Martin Owusu, and you are able to apply everything you have been taught, you'd realize that whichever field you decide to go into politics, you'd make a great politician, because the kind of training that you get disciplines you in so many ways and it readies you for the world. I remember one thing Professor Martin Owusu used to say all the time: a little learning is a dangerous thing, so drink deep.
Prof, I think that I can just describe him as, you know, probably as an ocean, if you will, because we know to date the ocean has still not been well explored. Scientists will tell you that about only 5% of the ocean has been explored, and that is Martin Owusu, Prof for you, you know, because then there's so much that he has to offer, and yet we're not able to, you know, get enough of him. I mean, he's not the one who would the type of you know, lecturer who would spoon feed you. You know, he makes you think beyond you know, your course outline. He didn't want to produce people who were just filled with knowledge, but people who were practical with whatever knowledge that they acquired. And because of the demand of our industry, you know, especially in those times, Prof never grows. He never grows old. I mean, you kind of same way he is. He's really taken good care of himself. You know, his health has been great over the years. And sometimes we kind of want to find more information about him, and then we ask our seniors, and they're like, "Prof is the same." I mean, he's the same. During our interactions, there's so much wit and a lot of fun times, especially when we get onto the stage and we mess up a bit. And, you know, sometimes he speaks with his eyes and looks, you know, and it speaks volumes. And
Prof's class was interesting all the time. He took his time to explain things to us better, and he would do this by telling us stories. He would sometimes demonstrate himself or call some of us out to reenact certain things. Prof was a kind man. In level 300, during a lecture, Prof told us he was staging a play at University of Ghana, and we wanted to see this play badly. We tried to secure the school's SRC bus to transport us to Legon to see the play, but we were unable to get it. And to our surprise, Prof actually hired 2 buses to transport us from Cape Coast to Legon to see the performance, and then back to Cape Coast. And we didn't pay a dime. And he cares so much about his students. There's this one thing that Prof taught me. He wouldn't mind apologizing to me when he felt he wronged me. You know, we had our differences. Everyone does. But for an adult to actually realize that maybe he said something that he wasn't supposed to have said, to apologize, come back and apologize to you, I felt that was a good thing, and I learned that from him.
My biological father virtually handed me over to Professor Martin Owusu, who said to him that this boy is going to become what you were not. Professor Martin Owusu was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to the School of Performing Arts. And I'm telling him today, probably he doesn't know. If he'll be watching, he is one of the reasons. I used to watch him, I used to love him, and I said to myself that I would like to be like this man. So I met him at the entrance interview. To be very honest, I was a bit dumbfounded. I had butterflies. And so he asked questions, and there I was rather looking at the man than thinking about the questions that he had asked. I failed, but I was really determined to be with this man. I went the second time. And he remembered that, hey, you came here last year. I said, yes. And here I was. I got enrolled in the School of Performing Arts. I don't know who would say anything negative about Professor Martin Owusu. He's a storyteller. He understands every literary story. When he comes to class, boy, why would you want to miss his class? Okay, don't read the book, don't read the drama, but come to class and he will tell you the story.
Professor Martin Owusu had a great impact on my life as a practitioner of theater and as a man of God. There are a lot of stuff I do in church when I'm ministering, which comes with a lot of theatrical gestures, which has really helped in putting out to people, preaching to people, for them to understand the exact thing you want to put out to them. Prof is one of the most jovial, down-to-earth personalities, but when it gets to the work, you can be his best of all, he will not spare you when you mess up. I remember there was a day we were having a production, we were on stage. I think it was a rehearsal, and I was supposed to say, if I remember, I think that was the first time I was trying to say this word correctly, creature, and I had grown up calling it creature. So I was on stage and I said, I remember it was the Diary of Adam and Eve. I was Adam, and I said creature, and he said a creature, and I laughed, and I went back, came on stage, and I said creature, and then he said, hey, it's creature, say it, I said creature. All that was fun, but when I came in the third time and I messed up again, it wasn't fun again. Anyway, he told me point blank, you're a very good actor. If you want to go far, learn how to accept corrections on the go. It's one thing for someone to just say you are good, but it's another thing for that person to not only say you are good, but believe in you and make sure that whatever he does, he involves you in it. And that's what Prof did to me.
By the way he was teaching us, I rose up to become the best student in play analysis and interpretation. And since then, I've always been with him. He's ever ready to support anything that his students are doing. So I became his TA when I was doing the masters. You could see that this man was almost always on me. And we were trying hard, and I finished. In fact, both of us enjoyed the success. So I became a full lecturer, and then now a senior lecturer, who is the head of department of this noble department. But I must say, I owe about 80% of all these things to Professor Owusu, who actually guided me. In fact, in my thesis I wrote, Professor Owusu is the Wawaba of drama in Ghana. He teaches well. So somehow we took after him. The way he would teach, the way he would bring in some humor, for students to be happy that he will be followed up and down. And sometimes we call him Martin, And I say, hey, Martin, we're a guy. And we all laugh. Something that I've learned about him is his patience and how he can go so low to any level. I was his student. Now, I am the head of department. Somehow, I also have become somebody he has to serve in a way. He has to respect. You understand? And as I'm serving him as the head of department, he has to also sometimes obey certain things that I say. And I must say that he's very submissive. He does nothing. I mean, he's not the type who would say that, hey, after all, he was my boy, he's my student, and the rest. No. the way he relates to me, I feel very bad because I don't deserve it. My professor also makes me feel I am on top of the world.
Three words wouldn't be enough, but let me try. Untapped. An ocean and professionalism.
Intelligent, energetic, talented.
He's a disciplinarian. He's firm. He knows what to say to you. He doesn't break you down. But there's one thing he will do. He will show with his mannerisms when he's not happy.
I'm trying to find a word because I have like 30 words in my head. But in 3 words, Prof he's a genius. He's a super genius. Number 2, Prof is exceptional. The final thing I'll say is this. I don't know what others will say, but from my experience, he's a father and he's taught me humility to the last part. No matter your age, he can come down to your level just to make fun with you.
To sum up Professor Owusu is a very difficult thing. But for me, Professor Owusu is very affable, down to earth, intelligent, and a professor.
Today, as I said here, the level of confidence that man has imbibed in me and make me president of Ghana, and I'm sure I'll do very well. Professor Martin Owusu is simply a legend.
Oh my goodness, thank you, sir, thank you. That so, I mean, I know we don't say this as often as we should, but you know, in our hearts, and I'm sure in the hearts of most of my colleagues and mates, you have been such a pillar in our journey as far as this our craft is concerned.
Meeting Professor Martin Owusu and the number of people he has impacted across the globe, I'm telling you, if people will really be sincere and come out, the number of BA people, the number of BFA people, if they'll all come out and be very sincere and tell you, I'm telling you what, there are over 70% of people in top places in this country who one way or the other, so long as they found themselves in this department or as theatre art students, had a feel of Professor Martin Owusu.
I'm grateful, Prof. And today I wish you long life, good health, and I want to say that I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
He's one such a jolly good fellow. I can do more, I know. And I know that you have tried to push me even when I got into corporate life. I know you tried to pull me back and come in and let's do this, but I hope I've not failed you yet, because I will do it. Thank you so much.
So welcome back, and thank you for staying. Now, what you just saw was Professor Martin Owusu watching a video compiled by us. We did a few rounds to get some of his students who now are in various fields out there doing very well to share their experience and their memories of Prof, to tell us how they felt studying under him and working with him. Prof.
Yes.
Watching this, how does it make you feel?
Good. I congratulate you for putting this wonderful sequence together. And what I would say, the testimonies that those that the Lord has made possible for me to meet and interact with, say all these nice good things about me. I'm grateful to you and to them. And I do hope that the goodwill will carry on even as I journey towards the final destination. Only God will decide that. But I thank you all very much too.
It was a pleasure doing this. Indeed, you've produced so many good people out there, and we are proud of you. But one thing that your students usually say, and you heard from the clips, is that you are jovial, you make your class interesting and all of that. Are these traits you picked from your parents, your friends, from somewhere, or is it just you?
It's a difficult question, you know, because as in growing up in school, we had teachers who wouldn't smile, who wouldn't, and I didn't like it. I didn't feel comfortable. I mean, serious, and they would not crack it, you know, nothing. Serious, and then you walk away, and even if you giggled a bit, you are part. I didn't like that. And as a teacher, if you want to reach the students with knowledge, I think one of the best ways, not the only way, is to get them relaxed, get them feel confident, and encourage them. Now, coming down doesn't mean you are belittling yourself. Simply that you have to understand the level that they are at and operate from that level as you build the edifice up. And so it is experiences that I've been through, both as a student and as a lecturer, meeting others and so forth, all together. That's what has made me. And teaching, learning how to teach in the training college, it's also a remarkable experience.
Okay.
That adds on to
who you are now.
Who I am.
Okay, indeed. I'm going to ask you another difficult question. Of all your years of teaching, or say lecturing, would you remember any memorable experience with your students or as a lecturer?
Memorable. This was especially during the theatre season period, when we managed to establish 1 month or more, when during the long vac, that all the students came back into residence, and then we rehearsed a number of plays and sent to them to the Theatre Center and then to the National Theatre for 1 month. And we did these productions, invited the public. Now we sent the gown to town.
Okay.
Unfortunately, at a certain point, it was brought to an end, but there are ways of seeking to revive it. So those were very memorable occasions beyond the classroom, sending productions
out
to the National Theatre.
Okay. Have you seen or watched the works of any of your students, be it theatre plays or movies?
Oh, yes, indeed. Some of the students, I cannot name names, but I have watched. Any time I'm invited to watch a student production, I will go and watch it.
And how does it make you feel, knowing
Wonderful.
that the lens
and
from
for them to have me present and make a comment or two, they also love that too. So I would say that yes, attending their productions encourages them to do more.
Okay.
Yes.
Prof, having worked in a theatre field for so long, what do you make of theatre in Ghana? an assessment?
Oh, yes. In every endeavor, we see there's always room for improvement. Things can be better. And I think that people are doing their various jobs here in the industry. And sometimes we need to find more time to devote to the theater as an industry. There used to be a lot of amateur groups in Ghana. Somehow most of these have dissipated. I hope that with the new dispensation, the lifting of the ban on theaters, that more such groups will re-emerge and energize the theater world in Ghana.
Okay. Now, there's one issue that has been consistent in Ghana as far as theater is concerned, is venue for showing plays and other things. Now, we seem to have an edifice in this school, this prestigious school, but it looks like it's not yet open. What's the issue with that? Can you comment on that?
Unfortunately, I cannot. I don't know why.
Okay.
But it's been 17 plus years. Only a little bit more left to finish. And we do hope that the university and the government will find a little left to complete it.
Great.
The rainy season. Imagine yesterday. How could we have used the drama studio?
Yeah.
And yet the building is there. So we have the amphitheater, also open space. So we do hope and pray that the powers that be will complete it.
Okay. What have been some of your biggest challenges through your journey?
Theater survives on conflict. Drama is powered by people involved in a conflict of ideas, sometimes even physical. Okay, so challenges are part of man's life. And so as a playwright, as a director, as an actor, as a teacher and so forth, we learn how to handle life's challenges. Because theater is a reflection of life.
Yeah.
And so if you just have one long, peaceful existence without any challenges, then Sophocles will tell you, show me that man who has had a life without challenges till he gets to his grave. None. So it is part of life.
Okay. And what is your biggest fear in life?
Fear?
Yes.
Anyone who lives with fear cannot move forward. I take my step one at a time. And I don't think that I should be occupied by fear. Because once you have God, Christ in you, all fear, like darkness, will dissipate with the light of God and of Christ.
Okay. Now, we know teaching makes you happy. Your students, seeing your students do well out there also makes you happy. But tell us, any other thing that makes you happy? What makes you happy? What makes you have fun?
Getting up and knowing that life is still, and the heart is beating, and you get involved in all kinds of things that you didn't even anticipate. That the world can be a good, nice place, even though we know there are all these challenges that you mentioned. So as we experience God-given life, we come across the environment, you know, the beauty of the universe, the stars. My God, how did I become part of this wonderful existence? That makes me happy.
Did any of your children express interest in literature or what you do at any point in your lives?
They all do, but it's my son who took after me.
Okay.
He's also into literature and filmmaking. And he also been doing what we are doing now.
Okay. Now, Prof, you've achieved a lot in life. You're filled with so much knowledge. And I'm sure you've received a lot of laurels. But do you think you've been celebrated enough?
I should think so. Over celebration is actually an overkill. If you take a look at the things out there, Kwame Nkrumah African Genius Award for drama. That's the effigy there. And then we have African Writers Association Award, Achievement Award. We have my own students, Clement and his group, the comedy group. They've also awarded me. And Dr. PJ and his mates also have awarded me. Last week, this was 2 weeks ago, this was in Central Region Honor Award. As you can see, they've actually honored me on the 26th anniversary of the school. Kwabotre, yes. So I'm very proud of that. That the Old Boys Association felt the need to honor me, and I mean that is a host of them. So what else do I need to say that I've been celebrated enough? More than enough. Okay, and what we are doing right now is another celebration. And I'm overwhelmed by all of these. And I'm grateful to all those who have come to celebrate my life, even as I still live.
Prof, I didn't study under you, but the impact and the testimony of others alone is enough to know that you've done so much.
Why didn't you study under me?
Unfortunately, I found myself in another school. So,
all right.
Yes, but we are grateful for your time and for sharing your life and the story about your work with us. It's a very impressive journey, and we congratulate you again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Right.
And indeed, the honor is mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so that's it. We've heard from, I told you, he's prolific. He's produced so many actors, actresses, you name it, so many people doing marvelous things out there, and we have the privilege of having a conversation with him in today's edition of People and Places. This wouldn't have been possible without you and your company, of course. So thank you for joining us and making time with us. I am Wanda Amihagan, and it's always a pleasure to come your way with another edition of the show. Take care and be safe until we meet in another edition.
You can see that properties and lives have been destroyed. When you go to Tetegu, our nearby communities, we've learned that this morning 4 people have lost their lives due to the spillage of the water.
The Ghana Water Company Limited for the past 3 days has been spilling excess water from the Weija Dam. This has resulted in flooding in areas around the Weija Dam. Residents here tell us that the situation this year is like never seen before. Hundreds have been displaced with several homes flooded. On this special episode of Say It Loud, we bring you a special coverage of this year's Weija Dam spillage and its consequential flooding in the areas of Weija. My name is George AC, and this is Say Loud on GhanaWeb TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. This is Say Loud on GhanaWeb TV. It's a special coverage of this year's Weija Dam spillage, which has resulted in quite unprecedented flooding in various communities around the Weija area. As you can see in our shots, these are residents who are trying to salvage some of their properties, but it is clear that the impact is very severe. Several homes have so far been submerged. The water levels are very high. As a matter of fact, the residents say this year's flooding is very much unprecedented. It has really never happened this way before. We came this morning to meet several residents who, as a matter of fact, slept outside yesterday. Those who could leave have left. Some are sleeping in hotels. Those who can afford it are sleeping in hotels, and those who have no other means had to sleep on the streets. We saw some people who have erected tents, whilst others slept out in the open. We are in this particular house, which is just a few meters away from the main road, and behind this house is other houses and buildings extending hundreds of meters back. So this should give you a picture of the extent of the flooding. And here, as you can see, the water has already made its way into the room, and it is rising in its level. Sir, you live in this area. Yeah. How have you been affected?
Oh, okay. My name is Emmanuel. We live around close to the road, thinking that the water will not make its way to the road. But as we are speaking, the water has entered our rooms. We have to relocate our things to friends and people that we know. So we are being affected. And I can't say the government should come and give us an aid, because according to reports that we've gathered, we learned the main dam is almost at the verge of breaking. So they just have to be opening the water bit by bit for the spillage to go through. So if this is not done, I believe that the whole of the community will be flooded if the bridge breaks down. So for now, we just have to manage it like this. But some people's items have been taken away by the water. Surprisingly, they were not at home before. So the water made its way to the room and took some of the things away. But we are glad that some of us were able to take our things away before it happens. So that is what I can say.
But before this, this is something that happens annually, and I believe that usually you would receive notice from the Ghana Water Company Limited. What happened this year? Did you get any notice?
We've not got any notice. And then secondly, too, it happens annually, but it has never gotten to this extent. When my mother-in-law was telling me about this, she said it was in 1991 that the spillage came to this extent. But this particular year, because they said some of the water bodies, there was too much rainfall, so it's like it's breaking down the bridge. So this is what has happened. We have not gotten any notice, and even if we've gotten notice, what can we do? There's nothing we can do.
But for some people, this is an area where a dam is around them.
And we build close to the dam.
That is the issue, right?
I know that is what everybody is saying.
So why?
But here lies the case. When you come, if you calculate, let's go this way. If you calculate the distance between where the spillage water passes and then where our rooms are built or our houses are built, we are almost like 30 meters away from the water. But here is an instance, the water, it has been opened beyond what has normally been open. So there is nothing we can do. So if somebody is at somewhere saying that, why do we know that this is an incident, and then we go on to build around the Accra is now flooded, and we want to stay in Accra. I believe that you also want to, everybody that is listening to us want to stay in Accra. And then here lies the case, we've not gotten money to go and build that where we desire. So actually we have to manage and then be in the system for a meantime. If God willing and we've got our money, then we go wherever we want to build.
But so far, have you heard anything from the National Disaster Management?
No.
Have they been around here?
We only saw some people yesterday from the Gassat Assembly coming around to come and tell us that everybody should move from the if your house is close to the water, we should move away from there. That is all. The MC has not been here, the MP has not been here, nobody. If your cameraman can capture this guy, the guy who is going, he is the guy who was pulling people's things. He is the one pulling people's things. Have you seen? He's the one picking people's items from the house since yesterday up till now. So nobody should be as someone and blame us that why do we build close to the water bodies? Because we normally know that the water has never been opened up to this extent. It was in 1991.
So yes, all forms of efforts are being deployed in terms of salvaging valuables and rescuing even animals who have been affected by this situation. With canoes and people who are able to swim, residents of Weija are doing everything possible to save themselves from the impact of this flooding. The spillage of the dam and the consequential flooding has affected a lot of residents of Weija. We have with us one of the residents to tell us about the impact it has had on him. Boss, how have you been affected by the flooding?
It's very serious. You can see that properties and lives are being destroyed. When you go to Tetegu, our nearby communities, we've learned that this morning 4 people have lost their lives due to the spillage of the water. Tetegu is just around. Yeah, 4 died. Yeah, that's what we've heard this morning. They are our brothers, so we make contact because when the excess water overflow, it affects a whole lot of community. So this morning they started it started coming small gradually, but this morning when we woke up we saw that the volume of the water is so severe. So people affected should move their things outside.
But the issue some people are raising is that this area is in the dam, in the area of the dam. And so if there's a spillage, then there's the likelihood that the place might be flooded. So the question then is, knowing the state of this area, why do people build here? Why do you rent here? Why do you live here?
Actually, they've been warned several times. The truth is they've been warned several times and they are aware. Listen, every year we experience that they open the dam, and when they open it's like we see how gradual the water comes up. But this time around it's so severe, and we are appealing to them to move because this thing is not. We are aware of climate change. We are aware of climate change, and now it's raining, so we appeal to them to move. The best thing is for them to move.
Boss, and Ranajo, what are saying?
Oh, yeah, that man, yeah, the cry because Kofuno, man cry. It's happy, but we no man cry. She dem man be one so ni the pressure eba. Nti me say me call kroma ba. Me ba no na ado me dem. This is akra me ra me dem say na so na ya me. Me nyama ni nyina say. Me bi me da me share dem na me ja bibia because me to me man fa ba ko pimpo mu. Na me san me chi aba sisia.
Also, ya mama krabia.
Mama ya krabia. Ya wademu na ya hunze isi uniba pressure.
Tenka isi afibia ntinka fiwe mboabe na ahomboabe na nkamoye.
Odanka omo kachire se ebi omo bie from August no omo bie ni kakra na no pisa ebe duru by this time no pressure no ba normal omo bia mba kromu se. But this time no man cry. One be August no nso sa month where I rema pressure no balance na obvious one cry.
They say no pay then amoye.
She knew ebe nyina yo we on kire mu. She knew eda kwan ha kra na eda yempa no na world.
Now Osha extent of damage no say na akọ.
The whole town. The cry your yes I share a scaffold omu fee no one because I'm to no to call Uncle down test. Tinaya ya wa shesu mom.
Na bi mucha aban say anka ahano esan so nintinka mema mont na ana hankan
enye ha some parts, but I say when they too much damage, we too much.
Now, Oma Bahamu.
Mumbai.
What are you doing about your situation? There's very little we can do now. We are now moving our belongings, and our last result will be that we'll move our items into the road. Have you heard anything from the Ghana Water Company Limited? No, we have not heard anything from them. What we are hearing is that they will open the dam more. So that is likely to get worse than what it is now. The water was further away this morning, and now it has gotten to this point, which means they have spilled more of the excess water.
Ever since I came here.
How long have you been here?
18 years. I was here 18 years now. I have experienced this thing before. The government should do something about it. They should do something about it. And not much should come to our aid to help us. Because where we are now, we are here for a loan. Look at the story building over there. And the buildings over here, big ones, all has flooded.
So that is the situation of residents here at Weija. It is quite bad. So these are the students of the Weija DAJHS, and they have joined in the evacuation of properties. These are young students who I believe are helping some of the residents affected by this flooding. I will try and speak to some of these students to find out from them what has prompted their efforts this morning. Hello, come. How are you? What's your name?
My name is Susie Ted.
Whose properties are you moving?
Please, I'm moving my classmates' mother's property.
Your classmate has been affected, so you are helping her?
This yes.
Oh, okay. And have you been affected by the flood?
Please no.
These are students of the Weija DAJHS, and they are helping out some of their mates and colleagues whose homes have been flooded. Please evacuate their properties, and it's quite a heartwarming situation amidst this whole situation. They are frantically at it, helping their colleagues. Come. What's your name?
Collins Tete.
Whose properties are you moving? Where's Mensa? Okay, so we'll go and speak to Mensa.
Please, her mother is there.
Okay. So Mensa is a student of Weija DAJHS. Her home is being flooded, and in solidarity, her colleagues from her school have joined to evacuate. Mommy, Enkola, the Owusu Enkola bebre you nyama ebane sen.
Nobody to help me evacuate my things. So I had to beg young students and their teachers to help me. Unfortunately, some of the things have been flooded. My children are also in school, so their colleagues came to help me. We have saved some of our belongings, but the water has carried some away. I have really been affected. I rented this house exactly a month ago. I inquired from the landlord if the area is flood prone, but he assured me it doesn't flood here. 2 weeks after I moved here, it rained here. I was in town, and when I got home, the house was flooded to my knee level. It happened again just this Saturday, and I complained to the landlord. She assured me she would do something about it. But when the dam was open, it looked threatening, so I sent my kids away to go sleep somewhere else. And by morning, the water entered our room. As I speak to you now, the water has taken away my 1,500 cedis, and by God's grace, I have been able to salvage some of my belongings, but my 1,500 is missing. The landlord has left with her husband since yesterday without saying anything.
So our mother here says she's lost properties and money worth over 1,500 Ghana cedis. She rented the room just a little over a month ago, and this is what has happened to her. And then I see Andra.
After the area started flooding, my house is a story building behind the park, so I decided to leave. I even fell in the water while attempting to escape and had to be rescued by some men. I returned today to retrieve my properties, but the entire place is engulfed in water. I have lost everything, including 10 bags of rice I had purchased for my business. The site even looks better. My house is back there where the situation is very bad. This is really painful.
So some 3 days ago, the Ghana Water Company Limited started spilling excess water from the Weija Dam. This has resulted in flooding in several communities around the Weija area. Areas like Tetegu and all other places have seen significant cases of flooding. I have with me now one of the landlords in the Weija area, Mr. Elvis, to speak to him about the impact of this situation. Mr. Elvis, as a landlord, how has this affected you and your tenants and other residents of Weija?
It has affected us much because we didn't anticipate that this thing will come to this extent. Because they normally open, the last time that this type of spillage came was 1999. As I can remember in 2003 there. But this one is very serious. Because I don't know what the engineer was waiting before opening this thing, because I learned this thing happened Saturday. Saturday, the volume of water in Koforidua and so forth was much. And this spill on this thing, how they call it, Koforidua surroundings and so forth, the road, some of the distance were flooded, and so there are shops and so forth. But now I can say, so they even, I don't know whether they didn't listen or they didn't have information about it. They waited from Saturday up to Sunday before opening this. And this has affected a lot of people in this very area. As I'm speaking, we are in Weija now. It has affected a lot of people in Weija. And going to Tetegu and so forth and so forth. Choice and so forth, everybody is affected. So I may think that some people didn't work well. That's what I will say.
You seem to be blaming the Ghana Water Company, but then there's this concern of residents and people in Weija building in places they know that are prone to flooding, especially when the dam is spilled. As a landlord, if you hear this kind of arguments or issues being raised, what will be your answer?
Oh, well, I may not say they are right, because as we are expanding, the population in Ghana is expanding and there's no land. And some of the places we are not prone to that, but this one has been roping too much. So the first they tell us that just minute, but every spillage they have a canal which pass through. But this one, it has overflowed its bank, which we may say that is not proper how they do their things.
Talking about properly doing their things, that's in the case of the Ghana Water Company Limited. Did you get any prior notice ahead of the spillage?
No. It was only last Sunday before we heard that they are coming to open the thing. That was in the morning also and the afternoon. But in the morning, I may say these things happen in Koforidua, and the dam is in Koforidua. We have Densu River coming from Koforidua. They saw it that place has been full. So the moment that place full, they have to close it, open the air so that it will pass. So if like they open it in that Saturday morning and come in, this problem will not be. Though it is raining, but you have to open. But they are thinking that this thing it will shut their water. But I don't think that they did the fair work.
About the impact, what specifically can you mention in terms of properties and probably lives or whatever? What can you mention has been lost so far?
In property, there we may say a lot of properties have been destroyed. We are thinking of human being now. Our properties, that one we can't count it because full of thousands and money. We can't count our properties, but because our life, and we learned that in Tetegu 4 lives have been lost now, and this is very bad. And Tetegu per se, it's coming through the gutter on the Tetegu main road going to the township. It's not that they are near to the river, but it's coming. It passed through the gutter to their homes.
So the Weija Dam runs through several communities in the Weija area. Areas like Tetegu, as it stands now, have been badly impacted. Various means are being deployed by the residents to salvage their properties and safeguard their lives as well. And for the likes of Mr. Elvis and other residents of Weija, they are hopeful that the situation will subside in due time for their lives to return to normal. This has been a special episode of Say It Loud on GhanaWeb TV with me, George Isi. Special thanks to my cameraman, Mr. Kwame Ajaho. Until we meet for our next episode. Bye.
The media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As you are aware, in recent weeks we've seen a lot of positive stories on BOS in the newspaper, and they are positive because for the first time we've seen such a massive turnout in terms of declaration of profits and dividends to the states. We have been so excited that it's very important that we invite the MD and hear from the horse's own mouth as to the details of what they have done to get to where we are today and what the future holds for BOST. So we have called you at the instance of the MD so that he will give us just an update on what is happening at the institution and where they are going from here. So I wouldn't waste my time, but before I invite the MD to the podium, with your kind permission, I would like to acknowledge some dignitaries who are with us this morning. We have with us the General Manager in charge of Corporate Communications and External Affairs, Mr. Ajay Malik. If you are here, we acknowledge you. We also have with us the Executive Assistant to the MD, Mami Pokua Apia. We have with us the General Manager World Trading, Mr. Albert Mante. And as I mentioned earlier, we have with us Mr. Edwin Alfred Neobodai Provincial, who is the MD for BOST. So I will invite MD for his presentation and we will come back to you for your questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. This is the second time I've been invited to this august house and to engage Ghanaians through the media on BOST. I think the first time was somewhere last year, in 2021, when I learned my biggest lesson that you don't come and say you've made profit when the audited accounts are not out yet. Even though we did we had some serious improvements at that time, a revaluation provision took us to a loss in 2020. But 2021 is extremely different. I have some slides and I would want to walk Ghanaians through the slides, and then thereafter we can have some questions. So in terms of content, what I hope to do today is to remind you guys about what BOST does and the role BOST plays in the country. Then the second is to also refresh your mind again as to how BOST was in 2017, and then how BOST is today, and then also the way forward with BOST. So with our mandate, we have 3 key mandates. The first mandate is to build a network of infrastructure. By that, they mean storage pipes, storage tanks, and pipelines, and then some barges, and anything that would enable the efficient distribution and transportation of petroleum products across the country. BOST plays a very critical role in ensuring price parity across the country. I'm sure you know that the price of gas oil in Accra, when you travel all the way to the north, the price still is the same across the OMCs. And BOST plays a critical role in doing that. In transporting these products, we use 3 different media. Today we use pipelines, which is the cheapest transportation medium. We also use barges across the Akosombo Lake. That's the next expensive. And then if we had rail, that would be the next level, but we don't have rail transport. The most expensive transport is the bulk road vehicles, which is BRVs. So these are the transportation media we use. In terms of storage, we have tank farms across the length and breadth of the country that can store an equivalent of 421,000 cubic meters, almost 362,000 metric tons. So that is how we achieve our first mandate. The second mandate is to ensure that we provide petroleum security for the nation that can last at least 6 weeks, expandable to 12 weeks. This mandate, we are not too proud how we have executed this mandate, because providing petroleum security is like an insurance product for the nation and for the citizens of Ghana. And I'm sure you're aware that for an insurance product, there's a premium attached. Unfortunately, in 2006, that premium, which was the strategic reserve levy, was taken out of the petroleum price buildup. So anytime I'm asked whether we have storage, real storage, I say we don't have storage. We don't have strategic storage. But what we have is we have some stocks in the tanks, which the banks give us instruments and loans to bring into the country, but we can't buy that and just store, because we have to pay back the monies. So we sell it frequently and pay back the money. So we think there has to be a conversation around the funding of Ghana's strategic reserves. But today, I can promise that we have about 13 days of reserves. But then outside BOST, there are other BDCs who have storage in their tank farms. And so when you put all of that together, we have between 50 and 55 days of reserve in the country. So we are nowhere near running out of fuel. But in terms of BOST executing this mandate to the letter, there's no funds to bring in the fuel to store. So that's on the second mandate. On the third mandate, it's a pure commercial mandate, which is to bring in, import the fuel, and because BOST is placed in a very strategic location where we have a lot of landlocked countries at the top, Burkina, Mali, Niger, amongst others, we can also export to earn some foreign exchange and also make some money for the country. So these are the 3 main mandates we have. And you can see clearly that apart from the third mandate, the first 2 mandates, some social services to it. even though BOST is a limited liability company which is solely to make profit, we have some social dimensions to our mandate. So, for example, building these petroleum infrastructure across the length and breadth of the country, even though we sell some of the we leave some of the infrastructure out, a huge chunk of the infrastructure is built in locations where they are not profitable. So there is a social cost to those investments, and I'm sure in the wisdom of the founders of BOST, that is what birthed the BOST margin. So the BOST margin is to help support BOST in executing the first and then the second mandate. If you look at the second mandate as well, it's purely a social mandate, because no profit-making entity will just buy products and store. So that is why also there was a levy, strategic reserve levy, that has been today taken out of the price build-up since 2006. And hopefully we'll find a better way of funding that strategic reserves. In terms of our mission and vision, it is clear. We want to be the best at what we do, and want to do it safely by ensuring that we do not do it at a loss. Because the more we run this business at a loss, whatever money comes in will eventually dwindle and will grind to a halt. In terms of our values, we want to be passionate about what we do. We want to focus on performance, build a very high performance culture, and then we want to do everything we do with high integrity. What you see on the slides now is the BOST network. We have a network of tanks and terminals and pipelines across the length and breadth of the country. We have a storage of about 421,000 cubic meters across 6 depots. Tema, which is in, you know where Tema is, Crab Depot in Tema. Then we have Akosombo, we have Mami Water, we have Kumasi, and then we have a depot in Buipe, and then a depot in Bolga. Bolga is our export station. So Bolga is where most of the exports should be taking place. Between Buipe and Bolga, we have a booster station because the pipeline is very long, the pressure goes down, and so you need a booster station to boost the pressure so that it will get to the destination. So what happens is that when the cargo comes or the products come on the Atlantic Ocean, it gets to Tema. If it is crude oil, you can see clearly that there's Tor there. So if it is crude oil, the products are pumped to Tor for Tor to refine, and when Tor refines very well, the products get into our tanks in APD. And it's from APD that we distribute the products across the country. And from APD, it gets to the north through Mami Water and Akosombo. We have 4 barges on the Akosombo Lake and a tugboat. And once the products are pumped into the barges, then the tugboat pulls the products along the Akosombo Lake all the way to Buipe. And once it gets to Buipe, it serves the whole northern regions. And then in order to access it at Bolga, it is also pumped through our pipeline to Bolga. So in a nutshell, this is the BOST network that we have to leverage on to ensure that the will of the people of Ghana is achieved through the three mandates. So yes, having given you the background, BOST was formed in 1993. I think that's the only thing I left out. So having given you the background, let me let you appreciate what we came to meet in 2017. Because once you appreciate that, you will now appreciate the effort we have put in place till date. So I'll just run you through a quick update on a quick review of our challenges pre-2017. They are grouped into 3. So I have the financials, and then I have the infrastructure bit, and then I have the compliance bit. So I'll start with the financials. So when we came in, we had a trade liability or a trade debt, which meant that people had sold products to Bost and Bost owed them some money, up to $624 million US dollars. Let me repeat. We had a trade liability of $624 million US dollars as a company. Not only that, we had some domestic debt as well that we had to look for money to pay, amounting to 416 million Ghana cedis. So imagine taking over a company and then all of a sudden realizing that, wow, I owe people 624 million US dollars. Not only that, but you also owe local banks 416 million Ghana cedis. That's a Herculean task. And then you go forward and you realize that, no, not only that, there were some bulk distribution companies, BDCs, who had brought in products to Bost. And when they were coming for their products, some of the products had short. It had either evaporated or, I don't know. But the products were not there. And when they did the assessment in 2018, 2017, thereabouts, it was equivalent to 37 million US dollars. So not only you owed people, your suppliers, $624 million, not only you owed banks, local banks, 416 million Ghana cedis, you also had BDCs that you had to look for $37 million to pay. We also had a capex liability of 106 million US dollars, which arose out of an EXIM loan that was granted Bost. Out of that loan, we had bought some pipelines that were stuck in the US since 2008. So that was a snapshot of the liabilities, balance sheet. Money we had to look for, money the company didn't have. Bost capitalization is only 500,000 cedis. So even if they sell the whole company and say they want to use it to pay for all these things, all they could get was around 500,000 cedis, because that was our capitalization, with a lot of losses made over the years. In terms of our revenue earning assets, which are the assets I talked about earlier that Bost needed to use to make some money, because for the tank farms we rent it out. When we rent the tank farm, BDCs who don't have storage, we charge them a little fee. The pipelines, instead of using the road, when we use the pipeline, the monies that should have gone to the tanker owners, a fraction of it comes to Bost, because the pipeline is the cheapest mode of transportation. Our barges, when we use our barges for transportation as well, the monies that should have gone to the transport owners, a fraction of it also comes to Bost as we use our own infrastructure. So when Bost becomes efficient, when Bost starts using its own infrastructure, Bost makes money. And when Bost makes money, the people of Ghana makes money. The company runs very well. However, that is to the detriment of some other section of our brothers and sisters in this country who may not be happy because the volumes that would normally accrue to them to lift on the road comes into Bost. So as of 2017, 100% of our 364-kilometer pipeline was out of service. That meant that we could not make money from the pipeline. 100% of our barges were out of service. That meant that not only the pipelines were getting zero revenue, the barges as well were getting zero revenue, because 100% of the barge infrastructure was out of service. We have 51 tanks where we store fuel in, And 15 out of the 51 tanks, 30% of that was also out of service. So we could only leverage on just 36 or something tanks, 34 something tanks for our business. 50% of our depots in Mamiwata, Akosombo, and Borga was also totally out of service. So look at how much money you owe, and the assets that could generate some income for you as well was totally out of service. So basically, there was no way you could generate funds to even start paying off these guys we owed. When you look at the regulatory side, we hadn't audited our accounts from 2015 to 2016. That meant that even if you wanted to go for any facility from a bank or anywhere, you didn't have the books required for them to look at your performance to say, yes, you can pay back the loan, so let me loan you some money. Also, it was during this 2015, 2016 when the accounts hadn't been audited, when bonuses were being paid to staff. So one would ask, on what basis were these bonuses being paid when the accounts hadn't been audited? We also had a tax liability, 47 million Ghana cedis. This was over a certain period we hadn't paid. And then we had a contingent liability. A lot, because of BOS's financial situation, a lot of companies have taken us to court. And if those cases, if BOS lost, BOS would have to look for 161 million Ghana cedis to pay these guys as a result of the bad cases we had. We didn't have money. There were some lands we had bought. We paid some advance. We hadn't paid the rest. People have brought in their products. They've gone missing. They are taking. So all these things were there. And then, you remember I said that because BOS built their infrastructure in unprofitable areas in the country, in the wisdom of the founders of BOS, what they did was they voted a particular margin, and it's called a BOS margin, so that it would assist BOS take care of the infrastructure located in the very unprofitable areas like Mamiwata, Kosombo, Buipe, Bolga. I mean, I don't see any of my BDC friends who are building their tank farms in Tema, which is the most profitable area, building anywhere outside Tema. So in the wisdom of the founders of BOS, that margin was voted. Now, in 2011, that margin was 3 pesos. Fast forward to 2019, the margin was still 3 pesos. It meant that that margin had lost almost all its value. It had lost 82% of its value, basically, because we live in an inflationary environment. The cedi, a lot of our inputs for maintenance are denominated in dollars. The cedi in 2011 is, the cedi to dollar ratio in 2011 is way different from the cedi to dollar ratio in 2019. So this is what bedeviled BOS when we took over. The culture was not too interesting. So you can see on the slide there some of our infrastructure that were idling and rotting away. Can you go back, please? Yes. So you could see on your top left, you could see our 1967 technology batteries that was supposed to power, that was supposed to, a UPS system that was supposed to hold the depot when the power goes off until the generator picks up. That was totally out of service. Our tugboat, a new tugboat we had bought in the bottom left corner, a new tugboat in Debre. It was rotting away in Debre. You can see some pumps that had been decommissioned, some tank farms rotting away. Our barges, bus 3 and 4, you can see those barges that had been decommissioned. And so basically, this was the company, the state of your company called BOST in 2017. Not only did we have that, even though instead of using the monies to fix the infrastructure, we had also started investing in other projects. So there was very high capital work in progress. And you all know that if you start any project and you don't complete it, you cannot monetize the project. It sits in your books as an asset, but it's an asset that is earning zero revenue. And so about $57 million had been invested in infrastructure, pipeline infrastructure that was stuck in Houston. Those are the pipelines and the skids you can see on the screen there. We had also started a project, a depot upgrade project, about $20-something million. And the containers there had some equipment in there, but the project had stalled because we didn't have money. You all remember the $39 million head office wahala. We had started a head office project, and when you mix politics with business, sometimes they don't go well. The project stalled till 2022. So this was the state, and it made our balance sheet look good, but you had a lot of assets not bringing you revenue. Next. So fast forward to today, what have we done and what is the state of your company called BOST? So the first one is that out of the 624 million US dollars, out of the 460 million Ghana cedis, we've paid 98% of that money. The outstanding, it's about the outstanding on that. We paid 92% with about 32 million cedis outstanding of that money. Now, out of the 624 million US dollars, we've paid all of it. 100% of that money is paid. Now, the BDCs who claim we owe them 37 million US dollars, we conducted a forensic audit, and thanks to my predecessor, he had put in place a team to look into this 37 million liability. What I did when I came was I invited IOCO and I invited the National Security to be part of this team. And God being so good, this team did a wonderful job. They saved this country 26 million US dollars because that 37 million US dollars, when they finished the work, which took about 9 months, all these BDCs who claim we owe them $37 million all signed to the fact that it wasn't $37 million, but we owed only 10-point-something million. We've also audited our accounts. I have signed a 2015 account, 2016 account, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 accounts. So now in terms of compliance, we've caught up, and we are happy about that. In terms of the 47 million tax arrears, I can tell you today that we don't owe GRA. We don't have any arrears with GRA. We are up to date. I'm sure you all witnessed our annual general meeting, which is one out of a very long time that we have done to report to the people of Ghana our performance. And we are happy that it was very transparent as well. Our Tematu Akosombo pipe, our Buipe to Boga pipeline, we have repaired it, and we are happy to let you know that the Boga depot now is working, so we are able to have some exports through Boga to some neighboring countries. Our Tema to Akosombo pipeline, we have repaired it. Only that we have decided we are not going to use it now because we don't have ice on the pipeline. What do I mean by that? Anytime you push water into the pipeline, 100% of the water gets to the other end. But anytime you push petroleum products, it looks like there are some dwarfs on the way that feed on those pipelines. So we have decided that we are not going to use the pipeline until we put the electronic ice on it. So we are installing a leak detection system that would detect any leak on the pipeline, and an intrusion detection system that can tell us as soon as anybody tries getting close to the pipeline, an alarm will sound, and then in collaboration with the security agencies, we will know exactly where the attempt is being made. We've also decided to buy the military and the security agents some military-grade drones so that they can use the drones to monitor this critical national infrastructure. Yes, so I've talked about a lot of the repairs. There's a lot of operational efficiency happening, and because of a lot of the repairs of the pumps, loading arms, the infrastructure, it used to take us 4 hours to turn around a truck that came into our system. As you and I speak, we have managed to reduce the 4 hours to 1 hour 30 minutes. That is operational efficiency. It also used to take us almost 7 days to load all our barges. But we did some re-engineering and some replacement of equipment, valves, etc. at Akosombo. And what that has done is that it has enabled us to reduce the barge turnaround time from 7 days to almost 1.5 days. That is huge operational efficiency. So we're able to do more in less time. Because of all of these things, our revenue earning assets, which was hovering around 18%, is now at almost 95% as we speak. And our asset utilization has also improved a little. These are the hard stuff, but there are some soft stuff as well we have done. We've put in place some 15 policies. You know, in every organization, what really helps build the culture or change the culture is policies and procedures. And so the board has signed off 15 new policies that is now guiding our behavior in the company. And I can say that that is one of the key drivers of performance in our company. Some of the policies include a bonus policy, an HR policy, a finance policy, how money is spent, field operations policy, health and safety policy, ethics policy, amongst others. So 15 new policies have been implemented. We've also put in place a risk and compliance unit that will ensure that we identify risks and also mitigate them before they become challenges. With respect to expanding the business, we want to build a pipeline from Accra to Kumasi. We know that pipeline will cause a lot of problems by dislodging a lot of the transport owners out of business. So the Minister of Energy has directed that we have to ensure that 20% of equity in that project is given to the transport owners. That means that the transport owners will be invited to invest so that as they get displaced on the road, because the pipeline is also a transportation medium, just like their trucks, they can also have some ownership in the pipeline and not lose out completely. We've also decided to build LPG tank farms across all our depots. I'm sure yesterday you heard the Director General of the CEO of NPA talking about LPG. LPG is going to be our transition fuel. moving away from the dirty ones to renewables. In the middle, the gas can help a lot. And so we are also helping to facilitate these objectives by building new tanks, LPG tank farms in the 4 depots. The front-end engineering design or FEED is ongoing for the LPG project. The Kumasi pipeline FEED is ready. And so we'll start the procurement process very soon to identify a partner who will come and build, own, operate, and transfer to us after a certain number of years. Yes. So, having said all these things, one will ask, and so what? You've done all these things, and so what's in it for Ghana? Has Ghana benefited? Internally, we know what we have done, and we are proud of how operationally efficient we have become. Looking at where we are coming from, where we had 0% of our barges working, now we have 100% working. 0% of our pipelines, now we have 100% working. 15 tanks not working, now we have only 3 tanks not working. We've repaired 12 out of the 15. We've been operationally efficient. I mean, it took 4 hours. Now we are doing the same work in 1.5 hours. It took 7 days to load barges. Now we're doing it in less than 2 days. So internally, we know what we have done. But for the shareholders, which is the people of Ghana, who invariably own BOST, what is in it for them, and what is the bottom line? So what we have here is the revenue. The top line. And the reason why I brought this slide is to let the public see the correlation between the efficiency and the revenues. Because some of our friends on the other side, as well as our friends, brothers and sisters, say that, oh, it's only the boss margin increase that's giving them some revenue. But if you look at this slide and you look at the trend from 2017 coming, you can see clearly that if you look at the marine transport, for example, that's the last row. If you look at the last row, you can see it's been 0 from 2016, 0, 0, 0. 2019, it was even 0. The budget started working in 2020, late part of 2020, and you can see some revenue number there. And then it worked the full year, almost 9 months of 2021. And you can see a 5-time jump from almost 3 million to almost 15 million Ghana cedis. So that is the direct relationship between the repair of the barges and then the income. You can also look at the storage and rack. You can see that as of 2018, when it was 16 million, the revenues were 16 million. We started repairing the tanks, and you can see it's grown gradually, organically, from 16 to 38 to 50.4 to 52.6. So you can see a gradual increment, and it's related to the monies we invested to repair. If you look at the product sales as well, the years we had our highest product sales was in 2016, and I really commend the managers of the company at that time in terms of the revenue, because that was the year we made 3 billion Ghana cedis, our highest revenue ever in the history of this company. But you can see that once you start building liabilities and the market starts losing confidence in you, your product sales starts reducing because you owe a lot of people. And so over time, from 2016, you can see a drastic decrease to 3 billion to 264 million Ghana cedis. And then we gradually started building the confidence again in the marketplace. And from 2020 to 2021, you can see almost double the amount we did. So this goes to show you that, yes, boss margin plays a role, but only 34% of that revenue in 2021. And so bus margin cannot only account for everything. Also, don't forget that the bus margin comes at a cost. That cost is a social cost, which is to help manage and maintain the infrastructure as well as build new ones if you have surplus. Without the bus margin, the wisest thing to do will be to take out that cost as well, so that then Edwin and his team will just also focus on Accra Tema. But the moment we do that, the country loses, and all of you will be paying more than you have to pay for fuel, because there's a transportation cost, there's a storage cost in those areas that has to be borne by someone, and that is the essence of the bus margin. We couldn't have done all these things without the Ministry of Energy and NPA, supported by the civil society organizations who initially were against the increment of the bus margin. If you remember, in 2019, end of 2019, the bus margin was increased by Honorable John Peter Meu's era. But then the CSOs were not happy. And so within 3-4 days, it was reversed. You remember? Yes. And so we realized that we hadn't done some serious stakeholder engagement. So we went to the CSOs, engaged them. They went round to see the state of the dilapidated assets. And then they came to an agreement with BOST that before we can see our assets are rotting, but before we allow this increment, let's have an agreement that you will come and account to us periodically what you're doing with the money, so that Ghanaians will have value for money. So we agreed with them, and then they became our advocates, and we asked for 12 pesos. The reason why we asked for pesos was that in 2011, the 3 pesos in 2011 was equivalent to 2 cents. So when we made our case to the ministry, we said, Minister, just give us the 2 cents equivalent in 2019. The minister, and that 2 cents equivalent in 2019 was 12 pesos. The minister said, no way. He wasn't going to burden Ghanaians unnecessarily. So even though we asked for 12 pesos, what they gave us was 6 pesos, half of what we got. And it was interpreted as having increased bus margin by 100%. But guess what? That little money we got, we used it very wisely to achieve the numbers you're seeing now. So imagine we had gotten all the 12 pesos. We could have done way better. On the screen is a snapshot of our 2016 to 2021 financials. I said earlier that the years we made our highest revenue was in 2016. And it's Boss dream today to get to the 2016 numbers in terms of the top line very soon. And we believe that by end of next year, we should be hitting that. But look at the items in red. There's a line item called administrative expenses. The year we made our highest revenue is the year we made our highest administrative expense. Do you see that? And in 2016, it was the year we made our highest loss of 459 million Ghana cedis. So we set record in all areas in 2016. We made our highest revenue in 2016. We made our highest operating expense in 2016. And then we made our highest loss in 2016. Fast forward that to, and look at the staff strength in 2016. It was lower, 347 people in 2016. Now fast forward to 2021. In 2021, our revenue is not up to the 3 billion. I'm sure you can see that. In 2021, our revenue is just a little over 1 billion Ghana cedis. But look at our administrative expenses. Our administrative expenses in 2021, even with an increased number of staff, our administrative expenses is less than half that of the 2016 number. Now let me ask you a question. In this environment, do costs keep going down or they go up? We should have been budgeting for maybe a 1 billion administrative expense, and that would be normal. But look, and this is operational efficiency. This is putting your money to real good use. Because even though time, inflation, depreciation happens, even though staff numbers have increased, our administrative expenses have halved. And if you come and look at the bottom line, we have made 160 million Ghana cedis, thereabout, profit after tax. So imagine we made the same 3 billion. Our profit will be hovering around 1.5 billion or 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. And this is money that will get back into the economy. And we are very proud of what we've done. My team and I, including the board, is very proud of this achievement. And we are happy that the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, really had confidence in us and retained us to deliver this value for Mother Ghana. Next slide. So this next slide shows, I brought this slide to help explain standards and the intellectual dishonesty sometimes you hear on radio on the boss margin, etc. The blue line is our revenues. So you can see the blue line. You can see clearly that the blue line, after a while, they went to the highest revenue in 2016, and then the blue columns. And then the revenue reduced, and it's picked up gradually, according to in 2021. The green line is the profit. You can see there's been losses, at least for the first time. After a while, we've made the green line, which is some profit, and we are happy. But my interest on this slide is on the red curve. The red curve shows the percentage of boss margin to total revenue. So the boss margin contribution to total revenue across time. And you can see from 2011, 2012, the boss margin to total revenue was hovering around 41% and 47% and 51%. If you add them, you get about 49% on the average. In 2021, the boss margin contribution to total revenue is 34%, way lower than the contribution in those years. So sometimes when the arguments are made, they are not facts and figures, because when you look at the facts and figures from the audited accounts, 41, when it was 47%, 51%, the profits that was made there was around 12 million, 11 million. When it is 34% contribution, we are making a profit of 160 million Ghana cedis. That is real operational efficiency, and that is something that I think people should know. Thank you. Next slide. So, having described where we're coming from, what we did with the resources you gave us, and then the outcome in terms of performance, what is the way forward? I think that's very critical, because we've now crossed the zero mark and we can't keep talking about the past. So next year when I come, I will not talk about 2017. I'll talk about 2021, where we were in 2021 and where we are going in the future. We're done with the past. We have paid all the debts. We have repaired all the infrastructure. We are happy. We've paid bonus to our staff because it's in their collective bargaining agreement that when the company makes profit, a portion of it should be given back to staff as motivation. So for those of you who have brothers and sisters in Bost who haven't told you that they've made bonus, they've collected some nice money, please, for the wives of the Bost staff, for the girlfriends of the Bost staff, please go and collect your portion. So way forward. So our strategy hasn't changed. We are still going to be pursuing our strategy with laser-focused attention. Our strategy is basically twofold. We want to enhance operational efficiency, which we have started, and you can see the operational efficiency. We're going to keep doing that a lot. But now the focus now will start moving from operational efficiency to aggressively growing the business. And that is why we talked about the LPG, new product in existing market. That is why we talked about exports. The guy in charge of exports is sitting here. He's supposed to ensure that he quadruples our export business, because that is what will help this country a lot. In terms of forex, we don't need to go and look for forex to bring in oil, because we sell in dollars, we collect our money in dollars. So that pressure on finance and the Bank of Ghana for forex will go down, and we believe we can play a key role. We are also building new pipelines. That will be a new route in an existing market. That would enhance our fortunes as well. So it's very simple. Continually become operationally efficient, and then grow the business for the people of Ghana. But we can't do any of this without building a good brand. At least the brand has improved a little. Because when I came in, my staff were not happy wearing their tags, their name tags in town. But now that we've made profit, all my tags want to wear the boss t-shirt and walk around town to show that, yes. So the brand is changing. So we're happy about that. But there's a lot of work to do to sustain that, to ensure that our ethics policies, our HR policies work. No favoritism, become performance focused. When you deliver, you make money. When you don't deliver, you don't make any money. So we're going to build a great brand and also build a good performance management culture. My staff and I, including the board, believe in meritocracy. So we're going to make sure that we extract a lot of value from the people you have mandated us to pay, but we'll get the value from them to ensure that we grow this business. So in a nutshell, this is our strategy, and those are the projects supporting the strategy. So you can see there's some green. Those ones, we've executed them. There are some white ones which we'll do next year, and then there's some red ones which has delayed, but we are getting back on track. So next slide. The focus for next year actually is re-export. And I'm very passionate about this re-export, because the absorption capacity for Ghana is small. But then there's a $970 million opportunity in Burkina Faso and Mali. And we want to tap into that. But in order to do that, we need a multi-sectorial approach. And I'm happy to let you know that the Minister of Energy is leading this discussion to ensure that all the non-tariff barriers that reduce our potential are removed by NPA, so that we can really aggressively grow the exports. The benefits of this will be huge in terms of, imagine we're getting $450 million out of this export. That's $450 million we don't need Bank of Ghana or Ministry of Finance to go and look for, to erode our reserves, to give to Bost. This is money that will come to Bost as cash, and that we can use it to bring in the products to Bost. So in the next few years, we're going to be heavily focused on this, and we hope that the obstacles in the re-export business is dealt with. Now, why am I passionate about this? In Singapore, if you look at where Singapore is not surrounded by landlocked countries, because the sea touches a lot of countries around Singapore. But Singapore has deliberately positioned itself for re-export, intentionally. So Singapore, in 2021, their oil re-export was equivalent to 40 billion US dollars. How much is Ghana's GDP? Singapore's their total trade is 1.2 trillion US dollars, out of which 40 billion, not million, billion US dollars comes from oil re-export. Ghana is so fortunate that you have a lot of countries who depend on Ghana, who is close to the sea. So we have to be intentional about this re-export strategy, because it can really put Ghana on a certain lever. This $1 billion, if we are intentional about it, I can promise Ghana that we can bring in almost 30 to 40% of that money to help cushion the depreciation of the city. So I guess that's the last slide. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And Madam Minister, thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you to the President once again. Thank you to the Honorable Minister, Honorable Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Thank you to National Petroleum Authority. Thank you to SIGA. Thank you to the Auditor General, who, without him identifying the flaws in the audit, we would not have put all those processes in place. Thank you to my board of directors, led by Mr. Eko Hackman, whose focus on performance is par excellence. Thank you to the other board members. Thank you to my staff. Because guess what? These same people who were there in 2017 are the same people there today doing these wonders. And so I say thank you to them, because without them, I mean, I'm not the one going to monitor the tank farms and transfer products left, right, center. They are the ones doing the job. And thank you to Mother Ghana for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
And thank you for the insightful presentation, MD. If there is something that really, hit me in course of your presentation, it was the fact that you are making money or generating revenue doesn't mean you have to spend the revenue. It means you still have to be prudent and efficient in terms of financial management. Make sure you plug that the economic development of the country. I was also fascinated by the fact that revenue directly depends on repairs and maintenance of the infrastructure that we have in the sector. And just to note that you've been able to repair and spray all 4 barges, repair 12 out of 15 tanks, including tanks in Kumasi, APD, Bupe, and Bogatanga, that you have been able to clear all tax arrears and ensure that there is equitable distribution of oil products to all parts of the country because of your operations. On behalf of Ghanaians, I also say thank you for your role in ensuring that when we go to the pump, we get oil. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I will invite you, if you have any question for the MD of BOST, this is the best time to ask. If we see your hand, we'll bring the microphone to you. You mention your name and media house and proceed to ask your question. Okay.
Thank you. I'm impressed with the presentation. But I have a few questions. My name is Atamensa from GNE. Yeah. And so apart from the BOST margin that help the company in repairing those infrastructures, where other sources did you get money in those investments? Maybe you can tell, maybe you borrowed money from somewhere to help in repairing things. Then the operational deficiencies that were happening from 2012 to 2016, I realized a lot of efficiency going on. So I want to find out whether the audit that you conducted were able to implicate some people who were the cause of these efficiencies, the deficiencies. Yeah, if you're able to tell us. Then, the world is talking about energy transition, and they want us to use clean energy, use nuclear, use electricity in even our cars by even 2030. That is the projection. How is BOSS positioning yourself so that you don't lose out? We want BOSS to work so that we get money. How are you positioning yourself so that we don't lose out? Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Nana.
Yeah. Good afternoon.